Hi class, welcome to Go Math Lesson 7.10, Problem Solving, Finding Unknown Links. Let's take a look at our essential question. How can you use the strategy guess, check, and revise to solve problems with factors? So now let's take a look at our word problem. Sarah wants to design a rectangular garden with a section for flowers that attract butterflies. She wants the area of this section to be 3/4 square yard. If she wants the width to be 1/3 the length, what will the dimensions of the butterfly section be? So let's take a look at what we need to find. So it says, we need to find the dimensions of the butterfly garden, which is what we have underlined in our word problem. So what information do I need to use? The part of the garden for butterflies has an area of 3/4 square yard, and the width is 1/3 the length. And this is all information that we find up here in our word problem. So now, let's take a look. I will guess the size of the butterfly area. Then I will check my guess and revise it if it is not correct. So, to solve the problem, I can try different lengths and calculate the widths by finding 1/3 the length. For each length and width, I find the area and then compare. If the product is less than or greater than 3/4 square yard, I need to revise the length. So possible guesses will be shown below, and you can look at those in just a minute. Okay, let's take a look at some of our guesses so far. We have 1/3 times 9/4 equals 3/4. Well, then over here we're checking it. That was our guess. So now we're going to check it. 9/4 times 3/4 equals 27/16. And we know that that's too high. So now we need to try something a little shorter. So let's come over here and make some further guesses. So our next guess is going to be about 1.5 yards in length, or 3/2. So we'll take our 1/3, multiply it by the 3/2, and that gives us 1/2. So then when we take the 3/2 and multiply it by 1/2, you see that gives us our 3/4. So we know that we are correct. So there's nothing over here that we need to revise. So let's take a look at another problem. So Marcus is building a rectangular box for his kitten to sleep in. He wants the area of the bottom of the box to be 360 square inches and the length of one side to be 1 3/5 the length of the other side. What should the dimensions of the bottom of the bed be? So what exactly is it that we need to find? Of course, that's going to be the question up here in our word problem. So we know that we need to find the dimensions of the bottom of the bed. Now, what information do I need to use? We need to use the information to find the area of the bottom of the bed will be 360 square inches, and one side will be 1 3/5 times the length of the other side. So now, how exactly will we use the information? We will guess the lengths of the sides of the bottom of the bed. Then we'll check the guess and revise it to see if it is not correct. So now, let's take a look at solving the problem. So we're going to put some information and we're going to create a box, just like we did with our previous problem, and which is going to be labeled with guess, check, and revise. All right, we're going to take a few examples here. So let's take a look. So if our guess, which would be our length in inches, is 12, then we would take our 1 3/5 times the 12 is our guess, which would give us 19 1/5 inches. So then we'll take our 12, which was our guess, times our 19 1/5, and that's going to equal 230 2/5 inches. And as you can see, that's going to be too low. So now we need to try a longer length. So let's bump it up a little bit and let's try 18. So we'll take our 18 and we'll multiply it by our 1 3/5. And that's going to give us 28 4/5. So now we'll take our 18 and we'll multiply it by our 28 4/5. And that's going to give us 518 2/5. And we can see that that's going to be too long. So now we need to try something a little shorter. So we'll try something in between our 12 and our 18. So let's go with 15. So we'll take our 1 3/5, and I'm getting the 1 3/5, if you remember from our word problem up here, there's our 1 3/5, times 15, and that's going to give us 24. So now we'll take our 15, multiply it by our 24, and that's going to give an answer of 360. So this is kind of like trial and error, and if you see the 360 matches the 360 from our word problem. So we know we're correct. We don't need to do any more revising. So the dimensions of the bottom of the kitten's bed will be 15 inches by 24 inches. And we find that from right here, 15 times 24. So the bottom of the bed, what if the longer side was still 1 3/5 the length of the shorter side, and the shorter side was 20 inches long? What would the area of the bottom of the bed be then? So we're going to let you kind of take a guess at this one before you come into class tomorrow. And then for your password, we're going to take a revisit back to our decimals. So we've got a decimal of the day. Our decimal is going to be 2 685,000th. And we're going to first write it in word form. Then we're going to write it in expanded form. Then you're just going to keep following. You're going to add it. You're going to subtract it by 85. And then you're going to multiply it by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Then you're going to divide it by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. And we're going to round it to the nearest tenths and the nearest hundredths place and the nearest thousandths place. And then you're going to compare it. Is it greater than, less than, or equal to 1 7/10? So be sure you bring this as your password back to class tomorrow. We'll see you then.